Jessica, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. We were just talking about our stellar outfits that we're both wearing offline. Um, you know,
Correct.
so
Correct. I think this is
um,
a 30-year-old sweatshirt, actually. I was trying to figure it out. My husband got it in Japan and then it shrunk and he outgrew it, but it's kind of amazing. It's very worn.
well, I was just teaching, and one of my students asked me, do you wear the same like rash guard, right? Because it's a rash guard that I teach in all the time. And I was
Right.
like, oh, she's like, well, do you have like four of the same outfit? I was like, no, I just have people that do my laundry and it's ready every day. So
I want people to do my laundry.
I have people only at my workplace, only
Got
at my
it.
school, right?
Got
At
it.
the
Got it.
house.
Got it.
I think I have to make up for that, but I do all of the laundry
Is
at
it an
home.
emergency? Okay.
All
Oh,
right.
that was
That
Reza.
was Reza. Yeah. So um obviously that's your husband, Reza.
That's my
Reza is
husband.
intellectual.
The best. The
That is
best.
not even why we're here. We'll get into some of that in a little bit. Um, why are we here with you today? What is it? What would you say it is that you do, Jessica?
I would say I try to create ventures, create projects, create communities that bring goodness into the world or more goodness or activate goodness in the world. So currently I have two main things that I do. One, the main consumer of my time and you know project that I'm so giddy about. I'm like in love with it. And even though I am a tired parent, as we've already talked about too, I wake up just energized to work on it and I stay up late and keep working on it after the kids go down. But the first thing is Alltruists. And basically we create volunteer projects for kids that are due at home anytime, kind of anywhere, for 5 to 10-year-olds to do with their family. So in short, every month there's a new issue that we sort of debut a new box. It's sort of a repackaged, reinvented volunteer experience where kids get to learn about an issue. So they use their heads, they get to empathize with people who've experienced that issue in probably very different ways than they have. So they get to use their hearts, they get to use their hands, volunteering and doing something like engaging in a positive way with that issue. So for example, our first box was on homelessness, and kids learned about the issue, hear stories from children all around the world who have experienced homelessness, and have been unhoused in different seasons of their lives. And then kids doing the project get to do they make a keychain that is mailed to our partner in Mexico. And then families moving into their very first homes receive their house key on this keychain and with a card that is made by our community of kiddos. So they learn, they connect, they take action, they give. There's a donation in each box that goes to our nonprofit partner. And then they have all these other resources to do more. So it's this very complete experience that helps guide parents to have these meaningful discussions, do this all important values transfer with their kids, where they don't just say, we're a family that believes in compassion and generosity, but they get to do something together to make that happen. So that's the main thing that I am doing, and I'm just loving it. I also, for the last 15 years or so, have always been a part of a fund or two on the side doing investing. And I started a fund right around the same time I started Alltruists, the company I just talked about. My fund, Untapped Capital, invests seed stage, pre-seed stage in entrepreneurs all over the country and some internationally too. And my partner Yohei and I really believe in finding under networked, unexpected entrepreneurs, and then adding value to them by bringing them more resources and community that they need to really start moving, to catalyze their growth. So investing and but both sides of the table, as they say, right? So I'm an entrepreneur and I invest as well right now.
It's so interesting. I'm going to go back to your entrepreneur piece. I think, yeah, it
Do
was.
it.
Wait, when you said with the kids, it's just something that I find very kind of interesting and cool is that everyone talks about values, right? Like
Yeah.
these are my values, but they don't actually live out the values, right? And this is,
Yeah.
and it's because it's very hard. I was actually just with one of my best friends, and agree with his values or don't disagree with his values. He's the, I will say he's the only person that I know that fully lives his values like to a T, like to a T. He believes it and he will die on that mountain. Doesn't care if he's right.
Although, what if I push
Mhm.
back on that? Because I think there's the aspirational values we have, who we want to be or who we want to become. And then there's like what we actually do day to day. And I don't know if you can really continually live outside of your values, because the choices you make, the things you do, it shows what you truly actually believe,
don't you
right?
think
And
that's
so
part of your
there's the like,
values
I
though?
want to be more generous. I want to be more this, but day to day, whatever I'm doing is going to be showing a lot of who I am, right? So I think it's false to be able to say, no, I'm not really, even though I'm doing all these things, it's not really what I value. Is it? What are the choices you're making?
I totally understand what you're saying. I think if you value growth, and
Right.
right, then part of your value is that I need to expand my values,
100%.
right?
Yep.
And I think that's part of his values. When I say values, I guess like um he his value, his number one value is loyalty, my friend.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's a very hard value to live up to because um
Hmm.
you don't always know the other person's side. I'll give you the example here for a second and you tell me what you think of it. We had a student, I have 7 schools, and one of the relationships went bad with one of our employees, which I'm sure you've had it too, right?
Happens.
It
Sure.
happens. And he was originally my friend's student in Maine, and I moved back to my friend's school that I'm talking about here. And they were talking, they were great. And then he's like, "Oh, how's them all in Elliott and the schools out there?" He's like, "Oh, I left Easton." And like my friend, literally, because he loves me and my business partner, right? Loves us to a T. He would literally bury a body for us, like no questions asked. He goes, "I need to know if it's good. Because if you guys aren't friendly," and he calls my business partner Amal, is like, "Is it okay that he's here?" And he doesn't even know. We could have been totally wrong.
Hmm.
But his value is loyalty, and he literally does not care.
Hmm.
Where and like right or wrong, I was like, oh, he
That's really
lives it.
interesting.
He
That's
lives
really
it. Where I
interesting.
think we're in a day and age where people scream their values and have nothing to do with living them.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
So
And so I would push on,
yeah,
I think we're saying the same thing actually in the end, right?
right,
Like it's one thing to say what you believe and what you value, and it's another thing to step back and look at your life and sort of take an audit and say, okay, well, how much am I expressing this? How does this show up? And it's funny, there are back to Alltruists for a second, there's a study that one of my investor advisors, Adam Grant,
yep,
ran and
mm-hmm.
basically found that parents, more than anything else, 90% of parents say they want their kids above all to be caring. But like you ask kids what their parents want of them, and it's like to be athletic or to be successful in school or to be whatever, right? But caring, to be kind, caring people is not necessarily the thing that for kids rises to the top. Even though for parents, I really genuinely believe like most of us want very similar things for our kids. We want to create opportunities for like the best parts of them to shine and to come out, and we want to nurture that goodness and that kindness and all those things that we love and really do value. But it's very, very difficult to set that up, and it's very difficult in our busy lives to say that's going to be expressed by the amount of time and energy and money that we spend on cultivating that. It's difficult.
Right. What do you want your what's the greatest thing you want for your kids?
It's I want them to, well, first of all, I want above all for them to know that they are loved and to be good at loving, to be good at relationship. And I think that's the heart of a lot of other pieces, right? So from that sense of really like a solid foundation, security, knowing that like home is, our family is their home base always, and we're always not always going to take their side necessarily if they're incorrect about a choice they made, but always there for them and always the soft place to land. I hope out of that they have strength to go out and engage in a really positive way with the world, and to in their whatever it looks like, however they translate it, kind of do similar things to how my husband and I do our best to show up in the world too, right? To express and really speak loudly about the things we believe that we think are correct and good and right in the world and just and all that stuff. I do it in one way, Reza does it in his way. And we're encouraging our kids to sort of get very familiar and confident with what they believe as well. All while, it's very tricky, right? All while being open-minded and like religiously literate citizens and have depth in their own spirituality as well as they grow and develop, but also, understand and have total curiosity and compassion and an interest in all the other ways that people live their own lives. So that's a huge answer, but I guess I'd say my answer is really no different than what I said the summary of the survey is. I want my kids to be kind, loving people, and so I think my job is to love them and show them kindness and empathy and really like just pour into them for as much as we have these short windows with our kids right before they grow up and become their own adult
Yeah,
human. I'm
yeah,
very aware of that timeline ticking. So
yeah. It's an interesting thing. You said something a second ago. how you go out and give your beliefs to the world.
Yeah.
I think that's what you said. Explain that more. Go dive into that a little bit.
So Reza and I, to start there, Reza and I have this wonderful, I mean, if it's the best thing in my life, this wonderful interfaith, marriage, and we have this multi-faith family. And the thing that binds us together is—
So Reza's Muslim, yes? Just in
Mhm.
case people don't know. And are you Muslim or are
I
you
grew
not
up
Muslim?
Christian. No. And then we really are like, our house is very interesting. I said religiously literate kids. We study world religions together. So we'll go to church on Sundays in non-COVID times. We actually show up, and then we come home and we talk about, the stories and metaphors, and I guess like the scriptures, and from all different origins. They're really important in terms of understanding culturally, like just being literate, being aware of how the world works and where people stand and what their histories and religious upbringings might be like. So we have this multi-faith kind of— it's more than a side project. It's a way that we talk to our kids about how the world functions and how people think and feel and show up. So anyway, the thing that holds us all together are shared values.
I'm gonna let you go in a sec, but just a little background on me. You probably don't know. You resonate very much with me because my dad's Black. My mom is the daughter of Holocaust surviving Jews, and my dad was born Christian. So I was always an other, right? Especially back that up to 1980, right? When I was born. So it was me and my sister, and then nobody else like us anyway, right? That we got to see. I'm sure that, if we lived in a city, we would see plenty of people like us, but we didn't live in a city. So we were, so you are very interesting for me to talk to when we talk about belief and this multicultural thing. So keep going. I didn't mean.
Well, I get it. I know we were joking about like how much homework do we do on each other before we show up for these interactions, and I feel a little silly saying it, but I actually think you'd really like it. So Rez and I actually did a TEDx talk at Stanford on it.
Okay.
On like how we do interfaith family. And it's the new normal, right? The majority of couples today are interfaith, multi-faith, whether it's an actual like faith affiliation in any traditional sense at all, or plus another one of a different affiliation, or no religion whatsoever, atheist, agnostic, plus religion. And there's this whole conversation to be had about like the myth of religious neutrality, but whatever. Bringing two very different sets of belief systems even together is not rare, not unusual. It
not
is
anymore.
Normal now. Yeah. And but what's funny is I feel like if there's like one takeaway, if you don't watch that TED Talk, the thing that anchors it is like shared values are what matter, at least in our opinion. And then also, it's not like any marriage is between two people who have all the exact same opinions and thoughts and beliefs. Like all unions, all marriages, all partnerships are interbelief, right? And some happen to be interfaith in this way that we categorize. So like if you just go in knowing, oh, we're different people with different sets of beliefs, I think you have an advantage. Actually, research shows that couples who are interfaith couples are better at this thing called oh my God, what is it? Dyadic consensus, whatever. Watch the talk. It's amazing. I think we did a good job. Super humble. Is humility a quality I value? I would like to think so, but there you go. What did I just show?
It's amazing. So, I'm amazing. He's amazing.
Oh my God. I think, well, I'm really proud of it, is all I'll say.
Of course.
So all the research is there, and we actually don't butcher the statistics like I'm doing now, but it turns out you have an advantage if you come in eyes wide open, knowing that you're married to somebody who's going to think differently than you. Sure. You're like ready to negotiate those differences. So, yeah, that's I don't know if that answered your question or if I went a total tangent, but there you go.
How did you get here in your life? Like, what was your childhood like? What was like your coming up, and like, how did you end up? Because I believe we're so influenced by Sam Harris. I guess we'll come back to him a little bit and maybe later. I believe that we are the combination of what happens to us and our chemical makeup.
Yep.
Right. So very little, quote unquote, what we would call free will.
Well, I would disagree on that. Okay. And we can go there too.
Yeah, we'll go there.
I have genetically identical creatures as my first two kids, right? And so same chemical makeup, same like raw material, relatively same input. And one will choose to do one thing and the other will choose to do something else. And I am blown away by how nature, nurture, I don't know, it's maybe even something else, because you would think, right?
What I would disagree with is the same experience. I would say they don't.
I hear you. Right. No, they're on other sides of totally. But it's more divergent sometimes than I would have ever guessed. And it's been a
Right.
really crazy social experiment unfolding in front of me. So I love, it's like, it's so good. And it's so humbling speaking
Yeah.
as a parent, because you recognize that they're really in control of what they do with what is offered, and sometimes they make those choices based on something that's really like kind of more a gut reaction. Or I watch the dynamic of, one twin looking at the other twin, seeing what they do, and then either doing the same thing or the opposite, but very, very rarely something in between. Anyway.
Sure. So
yeah.
But
Yeah.
back to the original. How did you get here? What got you to here, marrying an interfaith person, a Muslim, a dark-skinned man,
Yeah. I grew up in the most like wonderful, loving family in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, evangelical Christian household. It shaped me and gave me a lot of values that I carry with me today, and I'm grateful for. I, fast forward a few decades. Throughout my childhood, I was really riveted by, interested in, curious about, and also kind of frustrated with the presentation of sort of the opportunity, very general, to go help in the world through service and through often like this assumption that I would be even at a low net worth level, like, middle America, middle income, even lower middle class American, like to be able to contribute by donating money to well-intentioned nonprofits, or to show up once in a while in volunteer opportunities that didn't always feel very connected to like a real solution to me. Which again has circled back into my current venture. But I felt frustrated by this dynamic of, hey, there's pain in the world, there's suffering, and your job is to like listen to the nonprofit pitch and then donate money. It felt like a transaction, not a connection. It felt very frustrating to me. And I heard again and again and again these stories about other people in the world who were living in poverty or suffering from some issue that didn't touch my life in the same way. And it felt very otherizing, and it was just strange to me. So as I went to college, I studied philosophy to learn how to ask really big questions and dig around in my own assumptions and figure out what truth was. So I studied philosophy, I studied poetry just because it's beautiful and I loved it. And I studied political science because I thought, who the heck's in charge here? I need to understand systems of power, and then maybe that'll help me fix stuff better. And I didn't have any answers when I graduated, but I did move to California. Yeah, right. Yes. A lot of grads know everything. I decided to basically like fling myself out into the world a few years after graduation and learn about I'm fast forwarding through a bunch, but learn about microfinance through an internship in East Africa. And I went assuming that I would hear the same old stories that I'd heard through the voices of many well-intentioned nonprofits and NGOs that wanted me to become a donor, right? But I heard stories of sadness and suffering and desperation growing up, where my role was only that of sort of savior with a few bucks. And I went to Kenya and Uganda and Tanzania for this internship for a few months in my early 20s, and heard a very different story from people who were.
You're young here in your early 20s.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut you off. And you say a few bucks. I mean, did your family has a little money, I'm assuming, or?
No. I'm totally saying, no, I was middle class, if that. Like, okay. I'm saying that's the way nonprofits often engage people. They say, right, look, panic, urgent news, the world is crumbling, this person is suffering, but it can all change if you call this 1-800 number for the cost of a cup of coffee, donate your spare change, it'll be fine. And that's really all we need from you. Throw the change in the jar and then go on with your life. And it was messed up, right? We're told again and again that we should give in this very strange, like disjointed way. What we're often not, I don't think we're asked often enough to do, is to like really in an integrated way, like how do we spend our working hours? What are we trying to get done in the world, right? Like I don't think it's going to sound, I don't like how this sentence is forming, but for me, I have felt an urgency, not just around effective altruism, which is Peter Singer's thing, where like, go do whatever you want to do, however you do it, earn as much money as you can, and then give it away. Why don't we like work on fixing things in and of themselves directly in front of us? And
for me, money's the easy part. That's how I see it. Especially, money's the easy part. And look, you're successful. I'm successful. So money is just this like, okay, fine, here, boom. It's just like, there's nothing to it, in my opinion.
It's not the currency I've always chosen. We are fine. And I've not amassed great wealth for myself financially, but I have chosen other currencies that I value more.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. I
yeah,
agree. And uh the currency that I try to give the most is not money. Now look, if money is what the
yeah,
person needs, actually, I'll gladly do it. Right. Like if this, like, okay, they need out of this debt. Okay. And I can help them. Great. Okay. But I
yeah.
also feel that we need to give them everyone a way to then keep themselves out of debt, to like bring them along with us, not
Mhm.
just be like, yo, here's $10 so that you can eat right now.
Mhm. I hear you. I hear you.
So,
Well, my time in this internship in East Africa showed
mm-hmm.
me that there was a different side to many people's stories, and that even a goat herder, a seamstress, or a small kiosk owner, or the person that sold tomatoes and onions on the side of the road, like people who had micro enterprises, tiny, tiny ventures making dollars a day. There was entrepreneurial potential there is in anyone who wants to walk that path. And so even though there were a lot of wonderful microfinance institutions doing lending throughout East Africa at the time, a lot of them weren't reaching rural areas, and certainly not a lot of the people that I happened to be working with there. And so I started to ask some really basic what if questions that led to the creation of Kiva. So what if I stayed in touch with these new friends? What if I gathered my friends and family and we tried to lend them little bits of money, that we could all like rally together and chip in? By the way, no one was using the word crowdfunding at the time. It was so early and old school. So it was this very long form way of describing, hey, we're going to ask everyone to pitch in like $25 or $50. And if we just get a lot of people, then we can get a few hundred or a few thousand for these new friends that need it. So long story short, the idea for Kiva was born there. And then in spring of 2005, and we cobbled together we being my co-founder, Matt, and I cobbled together a very simple website. We spammed our friends and family and asked them to pitch in a few dollars to help our new friends in Uganda with their small loan needs, $300 here, $500 here. And the money came in, we loaned it out, it was paid back, no interest. That's the nature of something special. There's many facets, but it was kind of the big unique feature of what Kiva was doing. Zero interest loans, not a donation, not an investment that would bear interest. And so that was Kiva. The first set of loans was about $3,000 across 7 entrepreneurs. The next round of loans was 500,000 over the first official year of operations. And then the following year was 15 million, then 40, then 100. And it's well over 1.5 billion in loans today. But that, for me, selfishly launched me into a career of just really, it galvanized for me that I could go build stuff, whatever I would dream up. If it was, if I did my homework and worked hard, I could build these crazy, like, little machines in the world where people and resources would come together and do good things and be helpful and, provide opportunity to people that didn't have it, or whatever else it could be. I always thought business had to be this very, the bottom line ruled everything, and value was only defined in one particular way. And it taught me that organizations can be anything you want them to be with any set of goals. You just have to organize the exchange of value appropriately and pick your right, it's a tax code, right? Pick the right legal structure and you're off to the races. So it's been really freeing for me. Since then, I've started for-profits, nonprofits, all sorts of different things. I've taught, I've done some writing, I've done some investing. And then today, I'm I'm a mom. I love my family. I spend time on 3 things: that investing and empowering other entrepreneurs that I believe in, and gathering resources to enable them, and then building Alltruists, which I hope, biggest picture, like to geek out and put my entrepreneur hat on and describe that, not just from the product side, which I already did, but big picture. You look at volunteering, it's it's fascinating. It's the Wild West. It's a $300 billion industry every year where people basically bend over backwards, right? They have to find and schedule opportunities. It's difficult to do, but they show up to give away their time and talents. It's just amazing to me. And they don't often get a lot in exchange besides knowing they're connected to something bigger than themselves and feeling good about that. But nonprofits aren't always equipped to parse out things that are helpful or to say thank you in ways that are really rewarding for volunteers. So there's this huge opportunity to live in the middle, redesign and kind of repackage, reinvent that engagement, that connection, so that ideally it's way more rewarding for volunteers. And for kids, there's just not a lot that's even out there that they can do. So getting families engaged with volunteering as much as possible, especially from home, within an hour with all the design imperatives that we've like tried to fit into. And it's a wonderful grand experiment right at the beginning of it. But so imagine living in the middle between this mob, this willing like world of volunteers. 90% of people say they want to volunteer more. So I want to help them do that. Nonprofits need always more hands, right? More hands on deck. And if I can design these great experiences within a set of things that are helpful for nonprofits and attractive to volunteers and bring it all together and invest in the actual experience, make it beautiful and engaging and like just really put energy there because no one's really doing that, then I think it could lead to a whole lot of, unlocked potential, unlocked goodness in the world. So that's what I'm doing. That's how I got here. That was my life story in whatever, 5-10 minutes, whatever, however long I was talking, I was in the zone.
Yeah, no, I think I love that. I didn't want to interrupt you because you're so passionate about it. Like you close your eyes and I can feel it. I'm like, man,
Yes.
she believes this.
100%.
And this is my favorite thing in the world. I don't even care what your thing is. I love passion. I love when somebody just and doesn't give a fuck about anything else other than making their passion happen. It's really great to me.
Well, thank you for asking. Thanks for asking. Yeah. It's fun to talk about.
I'm gonna switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
And look, I had no plan on doing this until I read your bio a little bit on my thing. And then you said you were Christian, right? And you grew up Christian, and you married Reza, and the book that I read of him, I don't know, 5 years ago, Zealot, kind of attacks Christianity a little bit. And
not at all, in my opinion.
Okay.
But let's go there.
Yeah. But it felt that way to me, right? Okay. It felt that way to some of my friends. Like we all kind of read it. He's Muslim, how do you work this? Like what? And look, he's not just Muslim. He's Muslim and outspoken.
Yeah.
Right. He is in the public eye. Battles with another famous person in Sam Harris.
Sure. Right. It's been a while from that one, but yes.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. He debates.
Without a doubt. But he debates. Yeah. So how do you handle this as a mom, as a wife?
Sure.
Right. As all these things, like with your kids and all that. Yeah. I got very interested when I saw that.
Of course. And I so appreciate the question. And I'm so sorry. Those of you just listening, I'm stretching. Okay. All right. So first, let's talk about Zealot itself. So Zealot is an historical biography about a person. Many people, many Christians go above and beyond the human being Jesus that walked on this earth, and go above and beyond to ascribe, Lord and Savior to that, and add on not just person but also God. Right. Right. What does it look like to examine the life of Jesus through the lens of simply his historicity, which is a word, believe it or not? I know.
Historicity.
I know, it's kind of crazy. So like if you can approach explanations of answers to questions, you can answer through the lens of, just using the disciplines of science. You can use it through the discipline of psychology, whatever. If you look at Jesus as an historical person, which he was, we all are human beings. Many believe Jesus was much more than that. But what does it do to look at and talk about the life of Jesus only, in air quotes here, as a human being who was a political revolutionary? It's freaking inspiring, I think, because you learn about this human being. Again, I'm saying this as
we got it. Yeah.
Right,
yes.
Yeah. You learn about this person who did incredible, revolutionary, and deeply inspiring things. And it's a way of introducing Jesus to, let's say, to anybody who wants to understand what this guy was about and what's the big deal and what was his life like. And for Christians to appreciate, it's sort of like, this is just me. I'm not speaking on behalf of Reza or the book or whatever. I'm just telling you my experience with it. So as a Christian, are you Christian? No. Okay. So as a Christian, it's very rare to have conversations about Jesus without that safety net, that wrapper around.
He's God.
Yeah. Like, so did he do a really hard thing? Yeah, but he's God. It's like he has this secret superpower, right?
He's got the thing that no one else has.
What if you take away this? What does it look like when you just examine a person's life as a human being? It's actually, in my experience, my encounter with that book, and to be honest with you, so many Christians that I've spoken to about it, for them, it was a way of really appreciating, again, in their language, from their perspective, that side of things, right? Because like, sure, you do amazing stuff, but you're also God. It's not like it's less amazing, but there's a pretty good reason for that. What about understanding the humanity, the humanness? It's beautiful, I think. And I know people. So Reza is a Muslim who loves Jesus and follows Jesus and prays with our family and goes to church. He actually he speaks in our church. He does a sermon at least once a year. Like, wears the robes and all. Like, he doesn't fit in a box very easily. So I will say that. But religions are a set of stories and metaphors and symbols and rituals. And there are ways of connecting with the divine that honestly, sometimes a lot of the truths, not everything in every religion, but a lot is common. And so it's sort of style. Like, do you prefer the, even within, let's just take just Christianity, do I prefer the hymns, the old, the dusty hymn books that I grew up with in my Presbyterian church? Or do I prefer the rock music that I heard in high school, my evangelical church, or what? I think I really actually love the hymns. So there's style, right? It's not wrong or right. Some of it's taste and style. And so the way that different religions speak of what I believe to be the same God, I find it very life-giving and stimulating and interesting, and only additive to my understanding of something obviously quite beyond the nature of it, right? Beyond understanding.
Beyond all of our
So
understanding.
I find it the most wonderful thing in the world, not only to be married to Reza and to have, even if it was just 2 vantage points, but of course he's sort of superpowered in his understanding, his deep understanding of many, many, many religions. He's encyclopedic. So he brings a richness to all of our whole family's understanding and understanding of and connection to spirituality and to our faith journey together, our multifaceted faith journeys together. That's pretty beautiful. So anyway, that's how Zealot is shown up for me. And so to summarize, when I speak to friends that are not Christians specifically, just anything else, it's a way for them to understand and learn about Jesus that isn't wrapped up in evangelism. Okay. It's pretty nice and refreshing and freeing. And in fact, kind of more accessible for a lot of people. That's one thing I've heard. And then for Christians, it's an exercise in talking and about and understanding the life of Jesus in this one way. And why is that bad?
Right.
There's no claim in that book that says this is all that Jesus is. In fact, it very clearly says many people believe there is more, and like, wonderful if that's how you look at the world.
Right.
So,
how do you deal with him as the controversial figure for your children?
I believe that, I'm not him. My kids aren't him. He's himself. And I don't agree with everything he says and does. Right. No, again, what husband or wife or what spouse would say that? Like, right. Yeah, stamp of approval on 100%, 24/7 of my partner. But I'm really proud of him. Like, I admire how he speaks his mind, and I'm proud of his voice in the world. And more often than not, I think it's a voice of, with an intention to translate and bridge gaps and help people understand each other. And I think it's great that he speaks for what he believes in. Like you, I admire passion. I love passion, and he is that. So it's funny. I don't know if you're asking the question in a way that assumes any sort of like it's difficult, but we are just.
It's for sure difficult, right? And from my perspective, he's a dark-skinned Muslim that speaks passionately in the world in a country that 80 million people voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yes,
and I love our current situation. I'm not saying that, right? But
no, I hear you.
But voting for Trump is a much different thing for me. I could probably never do it. And there's no probably, I could never do it.
No, that we talk
that
about
is like for you to be, you're a white lady, right? And you have obviously some white and some dark kids. Like it's mixed in there, but their dad is Muslim. So this is a tough country to be in.
Yeah, and we unpack. It's funny. We have found such. It's the most challenging but most satisfying
where do you live?
to get to unpack stuff with our kids. And that's part of, again, what I'm trying to do with Alltruists. Like, let's talk about difficult issues. I don't want to hide the truth from them, but I want to talk about it in a way that is that is like optimistic and leads to constructive action. We live in LA. We live in East LA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So you are in the city. Yeah.
I mean, it's so spread out. We live like in a beautiful suburban feeling area, but yeah, we're LA proper.
You're in LA. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. As we start,
pretty diverse, actually.
As we start to close here, I always end with two questions that, especially for people that we've never talked before. Man, we are not in the same field, you and I. Not even close, probably, right? Like, why in the fucking world would you come talk to me for an hour? Like, what is? And I'm not famous, right? Like, you probably will gain zero money, zero anything from this 45 minutes to an hour that we spend here together.
Yeah.
You have access. Look, like we were just talking about, your husband's famous, right? He has access to a lot that he could just get you, right? You know, probably. What are you doing here, sitting and talking to some dude that, like, when you Google me?
I don't want to make you feel bad, but I did read a little bit about you. And I'm pretty much a sucker for, like, I think everyone has a story. Everyone has something. I've actually been tempted sometimes in lectures to just like stop and invite a random person up on stage and say, tell your story, but it'll be just as amazing. Go. Right. And to honor that. So one, you asked, and I believe in the power of specific invitation, and that moved me. Two, I thought you sounded like an interesting person. And three, like, I frankly just really enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's kind of a gift to me. I mean, I feel like it's like therapy, like just out loud. I mean, you just asked, I just got to talk for whatever, how long, 45 minutes about things that are really important to me. That's a gift to be able to do that and to be heard, even just by you, right? I don't know how many listeners will hear it. It's okay. So it was a little treat in my week. I can't do this every day. I can't say yes to everything, but I was intrigued enough by you and by your story to say, sure, let's try it.
It's a treat for me too. Like, it's why I do the podcast. I love talking to people. I even love disagreeing with people sometimes. Yeah. And I think we need to be able to do it more in the world. I think it's probably our number one problem. In my opinion, is that we are in this realm where it's like, oh, I disagree with you on this. Well, so fuck off.
Yep.
Right. And you can't work through that some way and be like, all right, well, they're a human, I'm a human. And like, we still want that same thing. Like you were talking about, we want our kids to care and love somebody, and we want them to care and be cared about and loved. I think that's what it comes down to almost everyone.
Sure.
You know? So, yeah.
Also, I feel like now you have to become a subscriber to Alltruists. So I thought maybe it was customer acquisition strategy.
Good work.
How old are your kids?
I have an 8-year-old and an almost 12-year-old. And
I mean, it's kind of good age range. I think you should. I can send you one.
Send me one.
They're really fun.
It's very interesting how you said the opposites. My 12-year-old, almost 12-year-old, is me, like to a T. Everything that I do skillful, he does more skillful. And everything that I, like I'm an anxiety person that experiences anxiety, and he has all of that too, you know? So, and then my little one is his mother, and I'm just like, God damn it, Renee, this is all your fault that he's doing this right now. So, she does the same thing with me on the bigger one. So anyway,
so funny.
It's very interesting when you were talking about the kids. I mean, mine aren't twins, but I greatly resonate with my God, they're so different.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. I believe everyone has something unique about them in the world. I call it their power. That they go out and look, it doesn't necessarily make you rich and famous. It doesn't make you, I don't know what it does for you, but it's that thing you give to the world that is your giving of who you are. What is your power? What is that thing about you?
I don't know that I agree with the powers being unique, but I think we all are unique individuals that express maybe common things uniquely, right? So yeah, same different. I really love people.
Yeah.
And I look at the origins of my best ideas, I think, or the best things in my life are just driven by a deep love of connection and of other people, and of hearing their stories and trying to respond in a good way, in a helpful way, in a loving way, in a way that honors their humanity. So I have a lot of energy for that. And I notice sometimes that seems different, and that it can almost be an Achilles heel where I could do this all day, every day, right? Like I want to talk to every customer. I want to hear everything they have to say. I want to hear all of it. So that might be my superpowers. I really love people. And
I believe your superpower is also your kryptonite. I do believe that.
Well, I mean, I gotta say no to some informational interviews. Anyway, great questions. Thank you for having me. It's really nice to talk to you.
Thank you. That was really interesting. Tell everyone, if they altruism and everything that you do, if they want to find it, where can they find it?
It's Alltruists, Alltruists.
Okay.
So alltruists.com.
Okay. And how about you? What if they just are into Jessica? Where can they find
It's just my name.com. It's just Jessica Jackley. JESSICA JACKLEY.
All right.
I mean, .com.
.com.
Like, wait, at what? At home. Yeah.
On Instagram, the @ goes first.
Correct. Although it's private. I just, my kids are more private. So
nice.
You can't
nice.
follow me.
I like it.
Sorry.
You can't. You have to accept them, you're saying.
You should follow Alltruists.
Yes. All right. Well, Jessica, thank you so much. As always, everyone, I believe that Jessica has her unique power, her superpower in the world, and she goes and gives it. I have my unique thing that I do, that I go out and give. Don't try to be her and don't try to be me. Everybody go out there and find your power.
Thank you.
Thank you.